Okay, guys. Mr. Wong, how you doing, brother? We're back at it again. This week's guest, we have Mr. Andy Shepherd, who is a presenter extraordinaire. Just talking about his life, his upbringing, but also, more importantly, with regards to his goal and tenacious attitude towards actually getting where he is today as a presenter on WWE. I've known him for quite a while. Another energetic person that we've got speaking. So without further ado, let's introduce Mr. Andy Shepherd. So listen, mate, how you doing?
I'm good. Like, what week is this of lockdown? It's week 9. I think. I don't know what it is. But
I don't know, mate.
No, I feel I think this is one of those times where you can kind of reflect on a lot of things, and I feel super fortunate to be able to still be doing some aspects of what I do during this time. And it kind of makes you think about what's important, what's not important. But at the same time, I don't know about you guys, but I know myself, my missus, a lot of people I've talked to, we've all had little wobbles during this time. You know, if someone had told me, oh, you just got to sit at home and chill for however many weeks, I'd be like, oh, okay, that sounds quite easy. But actually not be able to see my friends and family, not be able to, you know, move from the square mile I live in, all those things. At some point in this period, it's kind of, you know, had little kind of wobbles. But yeah, mate, in general, good. Like, I'm fortunate, I'm healthy. So, yeah.
Mate, I went through Labatt Grove, your manor, about a couple of weeks ago.
Where's the phone call? Where's the phone call?
Social distancing, mate.
Oh, was it before allowed to have 2 meters apart? And okay, well, I'll let you know.
I thought it's 2 miles apart. But West London is like it's super different, man. It's like compared to like say like East or even South. It's like there's way more police over here. And it's like there's way less people on the street, and I went into West London and was like, man, dude, it's like going into Carnival, you know, the back end of Carnival, you know, It's like people are still out there, like loads of people are still out there, like if Westfield was still open. Yeah,
it felt like a couple of weeks ago, it was pretty quiet around where I'm at the moment, and then a couple of weeks ago, it felt like, I think one weekend we were just out going for a walk, and it felt like people had almost, I think it was the weekend of Boris's, you know, speech where he kind of said we're going to ease things a little bit, but it was just Saturday before. It felt like people had kind of had enough, for lack of a better term. People have sort of like, I'm going out today, I'm going for a walk, and people were still being sensible as much as people can be, staying at distance and stuff, but people were like, I can't just sit inside. It was a nice weekend. I think it was the first nice weekend we've had in a while, people going out and about, and you know, I think for me, I have to get out. I can't, you know, I live in the middle of London, you know, I need open air, I need open space. So going for walks, you know, going for that exercise. You know, I started walking the long way around to Tesco's. That was my kind of fun part of the thing. That's what it was. But, you know, I think getting out and about within the parameters that we have is so key at this time. And again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, this is a time that makes you realise, I think, what is important to you. And I know I figured out that being out, you know, going for walks, exercising for sure, all those things that I kind of took for granted. Because if I didn't, let's say exercise, for example, if back before this isolation stuff, if I wasn't exercising, it was because I was really busy at work or because I was choosing to be lazy, you know, that's on me. Whereas now, when things like gyms are closed, I'm like, oh man, I really miss it. I really miss those things. So I don't know how you guys are, because you can't, you know, you're in the same kind of boat. You know, you're one of your main outlets you can't really partake in right now.
Yeah. We were having this conversation, what do you call it, with Tone, one of our other guests, and it was, you know, a similar sort of thing where it's less about the jiu-jitsu, but more about, as you said, it's more about the culmination of things like the interaction with other people and stuff like that. That is actually, you know, is the fault. You don't get to see your mates that you normally see, or, you know, you take for granted. Well, I hate to use the word taken for granted, but more, you know, for the use of a better term, you kind of taken for granted that those interactions that you have, like going to jiu-jitsu or going to the gym, or, you know, going to see your family and stuff like that. So, it's
I think one thing I've realised, and I wouldn't say that I've realised this fully in this moment, because I already knew it. I love to travel. I've always, since I could, traveled. I love getting out and about, and whenever I get a period, I travel. And it was literally just before this thing locked down, I was right, okay, I'm going to start planning another trip. And I was looking at, my schedule and trying to find like a couple of weeks. So I was like, okay, maybe I can bounce around here. And I was just planning a trip. And I was like, oh, actually, I reckon in May I've got a week or two I could find. And that all of a sudden just went completely out the window. Along with trips I had, for work. I was supposed to be out in Florida with WWE for WrestleMania and a number of other things I was supposed to be doing. And all of a sudden those things are taken away. And it's not that I didn't realize how much I loved traveling and exploring before, but now I really love it. Again, I think I was saying to someone the other day, this is the longest I've been in one place. In 10, 15 years, probably. I've always
same.
just being where we are, because normally, even if it's just leaving London to go and see my parents up in Leicester, or to go and visit friends, or you got to travel outside of your town for work or something. But for the first time, so the last time I left town was I did a WWE show at the start of March in Coventry. So I went there for that, came back, and I had a number of trips all planned. End of March I was supposed to be somewhere, and throughout the next couple of months, all gone. So now I've been in London for, 3 months? 2.5, 3 months. Yeah. I've never been anywhere. I've been in a square mile for that long. It's weird, man. It's weird. All these little things, just like, again, my family. I want to go back to Leicester and see mum and dad. That's not happening for a while. So it's just a readjustment. And again, I think, I consider myself one of the lucky ones right now. I'm able to do some of what I do from home, and to keep some plates spinning. So, all in all, man, I feel super fortunate, which I think is another good reflection of this whole thing.
Yeah. I think it's coming to that point though where people are starting to get a little bit like angst, as you said, and like you said a couple of weeks ago, people are just like, oh fuck it, let's, I need to get out, But especially like this morning, like I read like Saeed Khan has upped the congestion charge to £15 from 6 a.m. till 10 at night, and I'm like, what? Yeah, are you kidding me? It's like, are you insane? What are you doing? From 12 to £15, and it was like before. It's like, oh yeah, we cancelled congestion charge during the period of the pandemic and stuff like that, and so people can, get back to normal. And then I swear to God, though, as I said, man, I was riding through, and I was going to Ladbroke Grove, and I swear, it's like I came across so many new 20-mile-an-hour zones that I've never seen before. And I was like, where the hell? This never used to be a 20-mile-an-hour zone. So I think it's like, obviously the councils and the government are using this moment in time to kind of like put shit in place. Which I just think it's unfair, because I think people see that, and then it adds to people's angst and anxiety. You know what I mean? It's that they're very.
Well, that's where the conspiracy comes in. Like,
that's where the conspiracy comes
in. And
even though it might be just innocent, as you said, right.
I'm not a fan of conspiracy theories, but I'm a fan of hearing conspiracy theories. I'm a fan of hearing what people's thoughts and how they a fan of logicizing them. But with this, people are talking about this COVID thing being a conspiracy theory. I don't believe it is, personally. I'm not an expert. I haven't read every article on COVID and stuff like that. But from what I'm consuming, it doesn't feel like a conspiracy. Because how would you? I don't know. My logic is, if this was a conspiracy, conspiracies are normally held within certain areas. So, like, let's just say America. Let's just, people could talk about 9/11 and stuff like that. All right, well, you could possibly contain that within a certain group of people if you were going to do those things. But the whole world has been affected by it in some way. And you've got to think, like, you can't think every world leader has gone, hello, let's all get together over Christmas. Let's have a chat, shall we? How can we tie
That's exactly what they think.
Well, yeah, and I'm just like, I'm like, really? Like none of these world leaders seem to get on that well, let alone going, hang on, guys. Let's shut down the world, okay? You got. I mean, there'll be one country somewhere who just hasn't got this whatsoever. Been like, what's this COVID thing? And it seems to be spreading everywhere. So I'll enjoy listening to these conspiracy theories, but I've yet to hear one that I'm kind of sold on.
Yeah,
it's Bill's idea, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's all Bill Gates.
The one plus side of this is that look at the air quality. London is cleaner, but all these, I think was it Mumbai? for the first time they can see the mountains in the distance.
Mate, China, blue skies.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think one of our politicians say, we're going to be increasing charging stations and stuff to try and hold on to this clean air we've got. I mean, I'm like, cool, I love the sentiment. I don't know if in the next 3 months, everyone's going to buy an electric car, and help keep the air clean. I think when we get back to normal, things will start to, but I hope they don't, because I think this is one of the plus points. The world has been able to regenerate somewhat. Again, all this clean air, all these people kind of reflecting. Those, if you're trying to hunt for a silver lining in this, those are the ones to take out of it.
Possibly that rest, spending some time with the family and stuff like that. That's been good. But yeah. So I need to get out.
I think I haven't got kids, right? So I'm just at home chilling. But I hear all these people who are now at home, like they're working from home and they got kids. They got kids around them. And normally the kids are at playgroup or at school or whatever. And you're like, I can't take this. I can't take having these kids around me all day and trying to send 1,000 emails. So that's a struggle. That's a struggle, I imagine.
It is a struggle. It is a struggle. It's I think because normally I think for the kids as well, they normally have their friends that's outside, just like we have our mates outside, our own family. You know what I mean? Your own family group. So it's like, your missus giving me stress. Let me go and have a beer with Andy and stuff like that, and talk shit for a few hours, and then come back home and totally de-stress, or go to jiu-jitsu or whatever. Kids are exactly the same. Exactly the same. They're at home. They develop these habits of they go to school, school work, but they see their friends and stuff like that. But now they don't have that outlet, so then they're relying all that attention on you, and then you, in your own home, you don't actually have that space for yourself anymore. So a prime example would be, here's a prime example. So doing my little ones homeschooling and stuff like that. And then, then I've just cooked lunch, so I've got some mackerel, spaghetti, and da-da-da.
Oh, fancy. Fancy, mate. Wow.
We want to be rationing.
Mackerel? Someone's living the high life.
And so then my missus is working as well, and her business is in the city and stuff like that. So she's got all her things going on. So then, I'm talking to you now, but as I come off here, I've got to go and finish his homework, and then I've got to go and take him out. And then I got about 3 or 4 books that I want to read. I don't have that time. When I want to watch something on a TV, I can't, because either my missus or my little boy want to watch it on the TV and stuff like that. So then I end up it's almost like the guys get on Call of Duty and they go, "Oh, dude, come on, Call of Duty!" This is like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, "You motherfuckers don't have kids, man! I don't understand." And the TV is not mine at this moment in time. The TV is like everybody else's,
I'm waking up at 5 in the morning to watch some shows. Just a little bit of time for myself.
Really? Is that 5 in the morning just because that's your only time to get your stuff in?
That's right. 1, 2 in the morning, I'm up reading, or I'm up watching documentary or something like that. So it's incredible. So you don't actually, it's great that you're with the family, but you don't have your time anymore, your own space anymore. So I bet that's made you feel way better, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, champagne problems over here. Yeah, I'm not going to watch on Netflix tonight. I'm going to sleep until 9 o'clock. Yeah. Again. Very, very fortunate over here. Very fortunate over here. But it's one of those times where I think we'll look back on this. This is, I say this, everyone said the 2008 recession was like a once in a generation thing. And then we get this. But I think this is one of those times we'll look back on and reminisce about. And I just started this, people saying, you got to be, you got to make use of this time. You got to be creative. You got to do all these things. And personally, for me, I've got a podcast myself, and that's been something I've really enjoyed doing. People I want to be friends with. Shout it out. People I want to be friends with Andy Shepherd. Find it on your favorite podcast platform. It's fantastic. But doing that has been, it's been a nice creative outlet, because it's my own thing and just doing that. But again, I understand when people don't want to use this time for doing that, because everyone's got to get through this in their own way. If you want to just sit and watch Netflix, if that's how you get through it, cool. I think during this time, everyone's got to do whatever's right for them. And I'm sure many people are still figuring out how to cope with this. I think everyone's probably still figuring that out. But if someone wants to do drawings all day, cool. If someone wants to watch Netflix all day, cool. If someone wants to go for a walk all day, cool. I know one of the best things I've done is just going for walks. lockdown. We've been on some big old walks, just, and trying to explore things we've never seen before. It's almost like that. I talked about traveling a few minutes ago. We love traveling, we love adventure, we love exploring things. And where we can at the moment, we're trying to take that mentality and put it into our own backyard. Like, okay, well, we live in London. Where can we walk in London that we've not been before? How can we approach this as if we're tourists? Trying to just walk down different streets, trying to think, I've never walked down this street before. Just finding little pleasures. And also stuff like, there's some coffee shops that have opened up near us. And I normally just drink coffee in the weekend. It's like a little treat. I try not to drink it all the time.
But you don't need coffee, mate.
Oh, mate, no. I've got one now just for you, though. But one of the little pleasures we've been trying to find is, because the gyms have shut, me and my missus will get up in the morning and we'll try and go for a run. We'll just run into the park and run around and stuff like that to keep fit. And then we reward ourselves there's a little coffee shop around the corner with this real cool guy in it who's always happy to see us and stuff like that. The only person who's ever happy to see us. And we go there, we have a coffee because it's these little luxury things, little things that sometimes you might take for granted, that we go and we have that. If we have enough time, we'll go and sit in the sun for 20 minutes and enjoy that. Just trying to find the pleasure in small things. And I think that's something that, people are struggling with this right now. I'd advise just, take things you normally take for granted. It's smell the roses, go and sit in the park for 20 minutes, go and play with the dogs or whatever, find things you'd normally make sure it's a dog that you're allowed to play with. But, just those little things that we take for granted right now, because you can't go and sit in a restaurant. You can't go on holiday. You can't go and do all these other things. So what are the simple things that you can do, and hopefully when this does all end, try and remember to take the simple things, to enjoy those simple things again. I think in this world we live in, I was like, oh, I need to buy this and have this and look like this and do all this. And actually it's like, well, actually just simplify stuff. Right now, life is simple right now. And again, one of the silver linings of this is, I think, sometimes you're like, oh, what am I doing this weekend? Where am I going to go? Who am I going to see? What am I going to do? Where am I going tonight? Am I going out tonight? Am I going to go to a restaurant tonight? Am I going to go away on holiday somewhere next week? And right now, there are no options. There are very few options. The options are, okay, well, where am I going to walk today? Where am I going to jog today? Where am I going to do those things? And there's no pressure to, am I missing out on this night out over here? Or am I missing out on seeing these people? Those aren't options. So in one way, everything's simplified right now. We're kind of back to basics. So again, in one way, it's like, those stresses are out the window.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
I've been on a rotation of 3 outfits for the entire time.
Oh, really? Are they all white T-shirts? Have you got 3 white T-shirts?
That's it. There's no one to impress, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. But I think you hit it on the nail about having simple pleasures every day. So there was a strategy that I put on quite early on, because I'm in this lockdown for a little bit longer than you guys, and it's just
a little bit is an understatement, mate.
How long have you been locked down for then?
This is patient zero. It's been from
You're the one.
Hong Kong to Korea.
They're just following
to Italy.
Oh my word. Okay.
No, but it's just finding very tiny little things to appreciate or to motivate yourself every day. Like, sometimes for my kid or for myself, just a little bar of chocolate here or there, just, this is nice.
Yeah.
Or even on a different level, I was on like a bottle a night for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah. I think everyone went through that, didn't it?
Why not?
I don't normally drink that much at home. Like I've got some bottles of whiskey and stuff, and maybe every now and again on a Friday I'd have one if I wasn't going out or something. But then when this thing all started, because again, like there wasn't, I hadn't got to get up to go anywhere tomorrow. Like I was working from home, so it's like, well, actually, I'll have a couple of drinks tonight, and then the next night, I'll just have. Well, why not? Because it was, and then after a couple of weeks, I was like, hang on a minute, no, I've been having a drink every night for about 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm just gonna.
That's everyone's realization. You just gotta tone it back down.
I heard stories of people walking past, their neighbours' garbage bins and just looking inside. It's just bottles of wine, bottles of vodka, beer cans, all that stuff. And everyone's like, "Wow, someone's getting punchy on the old booze." But yeah, I feel like you speak for everyone when you say that. Everyone kind of got a bit deep to begin with.
Here's a conspiracy theory. It's the alcohol industry actually that started this virus.
In a certain way, this is also, if you look at it in a different way, this is also once in a lifetime opportunity where you are forced to tone it down, do nothing, have nothing to look forward to until you're told to do so. So I think you can let your guard down a little bit and then just experience some stuff.
When he says nothing to look forward to, I think it's still a good time to maybe, for me, we'll still think about trips we want to make. When we can make them, who knows? Yeah. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next year? Who knows? I think it's a nice time to kind of think about those things and try and give yourself something to work towards. But yeah, you're right. There's no one can make any imminent plans, Like I've got a friend who was supposed to get married 2 weeks ago. His wedding's now been pushed by an entire year, as was his stag do. And then I've got another buddy who's supposed to be getting married at the end of the summer, and I think they're still a little bit in limbo.
If there was a sign,
yeah. If you need a sign,
guys. I don't know if you believe in fate, but maybe it's not meant to be. I'll text him now. I'll let him know that. Just had an epiphany.
I think things will also be slightly different after this, even though we're looking forward to things. So from like tiny observations, like now we're allowed to go out to parks and stuff. And my kid, and even like kids here, they love connecting with people. It's a very friendly country, very passionate, right? But now you'll see kids just stopping on their tracks, and they'll look at their mom and dad, or my kid will look at me and go, "Can I go talk to that kid?" Or, it's I think things are different, and we've got to find a way to adjust it.
For me, I think it's the older generation. For my parents, for example, I really want to go and see my parents, but obviously they're of a certain age, and I don't want to risk those kind of things. I hope that in general, as this thing moves on, people kind of get back closer to normal, But it is that older generation that are, again, I'm not a scientist. I don't know the ins and outs, but I think the older you are, potentially the more vulnerable this is. I mean, I've had friends who've had COVID. I've had a number of friends who've had it. Some people were okay. Some people, fit, healthy people, were really up against it. It can be super bad, and I think that's one of the worrying things about this. That it's not like, oh, you get the flu. What happens when you get the flu? This happens. Okay, cool. Some people could have had it and don't even know about it. It's that minor, and other people it can really knock them on their ass. To a fatal extreme. Yeah. So it's rolling that dice. That's the thing that sucks. Because again, for me, I just want to go and see my family. Just want to go and see my family, give them a hug, and be with them. And that's probably one of the trickiest things about this, not knowing when I can do that.
Yeah, I'll have to concur with that. It's because obviously my parents are a lot closer to me than actually. My dad's around the corner from you.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But that's exactly. But that's again, that's one of the things. Not seeing your family,
Have you been to see them? Have you been to see them, but sort of kept your distance? Or have you had contact with them in some way since this started?
Just over the phone. Yeah, just over the phone.
Because part of me almost feels like in a few weeks' time, maybe I'll just get a car and drive up to Leicester. And, say, hey, look, let's just meet in a park and do for real, do the social distancing. Like you guys be 3 meters away from me, whatever. But let's just sit and have a socially distanced picnic or something.
That's the plan this weekend for me. It's to go and see them and stuff like that. And but. But as Viking was saying, the problem is like me, I'm a very kind of like tactile person as well. If I see you, I'll give you a hug, and it's very difficult for me.
Sometimes the hugs you give sometimes are a little bit long. If we're completely honest about it, sometimes they're a bit inappropriate. But that's a whole different conversation. We can
that's because you don't understand jiu-jitsu. So when I side control you and go to choke you from the mount, then
don't talk to me about understanding jiu-jitsu. I wrote jiu-jitsu.
No, but and kids are very much like that. Kids are very much, hey, my friend. And so the schools are opening. Hopefully, schools are opening in June.
I bet you're happy about that. Get back to school. Give me some time. I've got to get on Call of Duty.
That's it. No. But the schools are opening back in June, and this is what's going to happen. They're going to see their friends and I haven't seen in ages and because they FaceTime each other and stuff like that. It's now, and you can see it's like they all have their little group and they're all like speaking and stuff like that, and they miss each other a lot.
It's just interesting you say that, because I was talking to a buddy of mine who's got, I think his kid's probably 10 or something around that, and I was saying to him, like, is your kid being speaking to his friends or seeing his friends or whatever? He's like, no, not really. They're not really FaceTiming. The only time they really interact is on video games. So they'll jump onto whatever they're playing and they'll chat that way. Again, like, I'm not 10 years old, so I'm always intrigued by how that generation.
That's a whole different world, isn't it? The gaming thing.
Yeah, the gaming thing is a whole different world, because I think it's like you interact in a different way. But I prefer, me personally, is that our kids kind of like, if they can't see each other, then they interact with, like, by Zoom, by video conferencing or whatever, and just talk stuff. Because basically he'll be sitting down and we'll be playing like Uno or something like that, and then his mates will ring up, and then he'll still be playing Uno, but he'll be talking to them as well. So he'll have the phone there or the iPad on the side, but he's doing his own thing at the same time, but still talking to them, and they're doing their own thing at the same time, and they're walking around the house but they're still like, they're still conversing the whole time.
I remember being a kid really sitting on the steps. I had to sit on the steps because we didn't have one of those wireless phones yet. I had to sit on the steps of my house, like the stairs, and I used like the wired-in phone to chat to my mates. And it was always like, get off the phone, we got to make a phone call or something for my parents.
Oh, yeah, I had that
was me when I was 10 years old.
Extra long wire, just go away.
Yeah. I remember we got a phone upstairs. We got a phone in my parents' bedroom. Yeah, we got a phone in my parents' bedroom. I remember going up there to have like the private conversation. You know what I mean? Like those racy ones. But yeah, man, now like you can. How old are kids when you get a mobile phone? This is something again I've known.
It varies nowadays.
I must have been like 14 or 15 when I got my first.
I was 14.
Yeah,
first phone.
So like we were teenagers, right? But at what point now, if you've got a kid, when do you give them a phone? And like,
so there's a few theories, right? And I heard
education.
I heard a really good one. I can't even remember where I heard it, but it's stuck in my head. And it was one of the ones where the parents of this girl's class got together, and they all made an agreement of when they will give their kids phones. So what happened? You didn't have the social anxiety of this kid has got a new pair of trainers and this kid's got a phone. I haven't got one. So Dad, I don't have a phone. Blah, blah, blah. So they didn't have that in the group. So when they did decide, like, listen, we're going to give our kids phones, they made it on an agreement.
How old was that?
That is super hard.
Yeah, how old were they then?
I can't remember how old
6.
they were. No, it's way older than that. Like my kids had Troy. When did he get his phone? But it's under different circumstances. So Troy was about 12, 13 when he had his phone. Haley was about 14 when she had it.
I feel like if I was your kid, if I was you, I'd be like, right, I'm gonna give my kid a phone when I know he can defend himself, so he ain't getting nicked. Because I just imagine at school people are nick. I mean, I don't know. I'm just assuming this, but I don't know.
Buying a shit phone.
But also, isn't it like a status thing? Isn't it a status thing? Because I know when I was at school, I didn't have good trainers until I don't think I ever got good trainers at school. I'd like your high techs or whatever. So, and that was always a thing where
high techs
or British Knight. I remember when I got my first. I got a pair of fillers.
Sergio Cicchini.
Yeah, probably. Well, I think I got a pair of feelers or something when I was maybe 14, 15. And I was like, oh my God, I've got good trainers. But I never had good trainers. Yeah. And so I got the piss taken out of me, like, oh, your trainers, blah, 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 blah. I imagine these days, phones might be a similar thing. Like, someone's going to get given the iPhone 11 and someone's going to get given a Samsung flip phone. You know what I mean? And so there's that status thing that comes with it. I don't know. I'm not 10 years old, but this is what I know.
Well, yeah, I presume it's that status thing. But I think I think that it's changed over the last even 2 to 3 years, where it's like fewer kids had top end phones, and now it's like all kids have bloody phones. Like it's like almost like the market's been flooded.
Yeah,
just so many phones. It's like, man, you got a phone. You know what I mean? So I'm not too sure. It'd be kind of good to look into. But I think you can't give a kid. Me personally, it's my opinion. You can't give a kid a phone before they're able to kind of almost like be at that age where they're able to kind of go out with their friends somewhere.
Yeah, like if you're 7, what are you doing with a phone? If you're 7 years old, what be like? You're not allowed to be on like the apps. I think Instagram's like 16 or something. You got to be on there. So it's like, what are you doing with a phone, mate? Like, who are you calling?
There's so many, there's so many kids I know on Instagram, like 14, 12, 13, 14. They got their own Instagram accounts and stuff like that. It's just, it's a minefield. It's a minefield. It's a minefield. And I think for parents now, it's probably a lot harder than our parents with regards to actually the amount of influences. Because, like, kids, when you're a teenager growing up, your parents have less and less influence on you because it's your friends that have more influence and your outside, experiences that start to shape you a little bit more. But now is that, there's so much more information coming from all different directions. Through their phone, through everywhere, advertising, etc. The parents have less and less, influence on kids nowadays. You have to be really strong.
And I remember how tough it was. Like I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, sort of in a cold sweat, thinking I'm still at school or even uni. I've got an exam coming up and I haven't studied. I genuinely still think that. I have these dreams where, like, there's like a maths test coming up and I've completely just not gone to maths in like the whole term. I remember the stress of being a teenager. I think being a teenager, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, is always an unsure time because you're still trying to find out who you are. I mean, look, you're still trying to find out who you are for your entire life, but in your teens and early 20s, it's really compressed. And the stresses and pressures that I remember I had as a kid, and as you say, we were in a certain world. Now, with apps, even people probably every generation now feel these social pressures. If you're on Instagram and stuff, you're bombarded with these images, often images of perfection, from perfection of lifestyle to perfection of looks to perfection of wealth, all these things. Everyone puts forward these perfect lives, and all these people that are put on pedestals look a certain way and have a certain lifestyle. So it's very easy to get consumed. And this is even, people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, no doubt feel those pressures. So I can only imagine what it's like for someone who is in their teenage years, figuring out life, figuring out who they are, who they're becoming, all these changes that are happening to them, to be bombarded with these images and not have the life experience to kind of stop and think, well, this is bullshit. This is all just fake and whatever. Because it's hard enough when you're deep into your life, let alone at that age. So, man, I think being a teenager now, along with the stresses of being at school and thinking that those exams, your life depends on those exams. Because that's what I thought when I was at school. My GCSEs, my A-levels, my whole life was pivoting on those things. And maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe I've gone down a different route if I'd got different GCSEs, if I'd got different A-levels, if I hadn't gone to uni to study whatever I studied. Maybe I would have gone down a different path. But you're told that everything hangs in the balance. And then as you kind of get into life, you're like, well, actually, you kind of, depending on what you want to do, you do kind of carve your way through regardless. But yeah, man, the stresses of being a teenager. Any teenagers who might be listening to this now, it's like, guys, like, from my point of view, shit gets better. People say the teenage years are the best years of your life. And look, they were great. I had a great time. Great time.
Shit gets better.
But if you follow your passions, if you're true to yourself, and you spend your years growing up trying to find who you want to be and trying to find what truly interests you, and not trying to fulfill other people's prophecies of you, that I think is a way towards happiness. Because I just remember being so insecure as a teenager about I'm still insecure about things now. I think everyone is, but as a teenager, just being so unsure of who I was and who I was going to become. Because I remember thinking, I know I haven't started my life yet. I'm at school. I'm doing my exams. I'm a kid. I'm not supposed to have started my life now. And you're always like, well, who am I going to become? What am I going to do? What kind of person am I going to be? I remember seeing like adults, dads who used to wear their trousers up to their nipples and cords and cardigans, and being like, at what point do you start dressing like a dad? And then you get into like your 20s and your late 20s, and you suddenly realize, oh no, this is who I am now. I'm just going to dress like this, wearing stupid shirts forever. That's me now, you know? You become who you want to become. But yeah, man, teenage years, they're amazing. They're also rough.
Oh, mate. So listen, where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Leicester, and I grew up in a place called a village just outside of Loughborough. So Loughborough University is a very famous university in the UK, very famous sports university. I grew up in a village just outside Loughborough called Quorn, and I was very much into sport as well. I did athletics for many years up until I left uni. I was really into athletics. And I used to train at Loughborough, and you know, you go to the gym, there's Olympians everywhere and there's world-class everything there, but you don't really, it is what it is because that's where you grow up. And then I decided when I went to uni that I wanted to go away. I didn't want to be at home. My brother went to Loughborough Uni, again, amazing university. But I wanted to go away. I think I like the bright lights of London. I liked the idea of traveling and adventure. So I was like, I'm going to go away. And the only university anywhere near London, and I associated London with TV and film and media and stuff, the only place that did the course I wanted was Kent, which on a map looks pretty close to London. Actually, the trains are so slow. I was as quick getting to London from Loughborough as I was from Canterbury. So then I went to Canterbury University, studied there, and that kind of launched me into the big wide world. Before that, though, actually after school, I went to America for a little while as an exchange student. That was my first kind of taste of living away from home. And it was funny actually recently. So I went to Houston, Texas, as an exchange student, and it was a rough time when I look back at it. It was amazing in one sense that it was the first time I was away from my parents. I think I was away for 6 months. I was away from my parents. I was living this life. Got to meet some great people, but at the same time, some people there were horrible. And actually, as I got older, I realized how horrible and potentially damaging those experiences were. And the older I've got, the more kind of, I've thought about that. But now I've tried to put it to one side. But I went back to Houston earlier this year, actually, with WWE. I went to the Royal Rumble with them. And actually, when I landed, I was like, I need to go back to where I was. I need to go back and experience these things. I hadn't been back there for, over a decade. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go. So I got off the flight, got on a cab, went straight back to my community college, walked around there, spent 20 minutes. And I actually felt really emotional. I actually genuinely felt emotional because I remember there were so many good things that came out of that, made me a stronger person. But at the same time, it was a really tough time. And then where I lived was actually just across the road from the college. And I went around there and I went to the house and kind of, I don't know, it felt a bit like I exercised some demons because I was there with a company that I loved as a kid. From the age of 8, 9, 10, I loved WWE. So to be back there doing what I was doing, which was hosting for WWE, which is crazy, to go back to where this kind of weird time in my life happened was quite a moment. Because as I said earlier, when you're a kid, when you're growing up, when you're a teenager, you don't know who you're going to become. You don't know who that person is. I think even at university, you've not started your life yet. You're waiting to start your life. You're in my mind, you're getting all these bits of paper and qualifications that might allow you to build what you want to do. And so to go back there and sort of be doing what I wanted to do was a cool experience. That was an interesting start to this year.
Yeah. Okay. Nice, man. So tell me about, what do you call it? Tell me about Blue Peter.
Blue Peter. So this is okay. So I think you're referring to my time on a show called Blue Peter. You Decide. So I suppose I'll give you a bit of background to sort of how I what I've done. So I remember after uni I went traveled the world for about a year and had a great time. But while I was away, when I was traveling, I was like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do in my life? I love traveling. I love all this stuff, and I always enjoyed watching, films and media, and thought that was really cool. I remember being in Australia, I think, and be like, what can allow me to maybe do this for a living? And I thought, Blue Peter, that's actually a pretty good job. These guys are TV presenters. They're always off on these trips, doing challenges, doing stuff like that. And I was like, I think I want to be a TV presenter. I think I want to be a Blue Peter presenter. So off the back of that, when I got back from traveling, I came back. I got an internship in London. bopped around a few jobs for like a couple of years. I was working at a film company called Big Talk, working on TV shows and movies and stuff like that, trying to find my way. Because I think in my head, I was like, oh, you hear about all these TV presenters getting found, they're runners and they get found to be a presenter. So I was like, I'll just be a runner. Someone will just be like, oh, you can present this, off you go. Because I had no connections in TV. My parents are teachers. I had no idea. I'm from Leicester. So
it's a harsh world.
Mate, it's really tough.
It's harsh.
And I remember working at this film company for 2 years and realizing that in the genre I was working in, which was scripted comedy and all that kind of stuff, in the positions I was in, which were junior positions, runner, production assistant, that kind of stuff, there's nothing creative. You're not being, or in my situation anyway, no one's asking for your opinions and stuff. Unless you're the producer or director or very much up the ladder, there wasn't a lot there. So I ended up, after 2 years, being like, I don't know what's going on. So I remember making a show reel, and because I was a little scared. I was all scared to try and be a presenter because I was worried that, I think sometimes people have dreams and they keep them as dreams because it's something to aspire to, something that keeps them going. It's something they wake up in the morning and go, tomorrow I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and do that tomorrow. But they never do because it's the fear of trying and not succeeding. And then what keeps you going? Because if that dream is shattered, where do you go? And I understand that because for a long time I was like, oh, this will just happen. This will just happen. And I got to a point I was like, I don't want to live with regret. So I made a show reel. And I looked up, I don't know, I looked up on the internet or some book of like, who are the agent, who represent TV presenters like Dermot O'Leary and Russell Brand and those kind of guys who are, kicking around. And I remember it vividly because I made that show reel the back end of 2009. And I put so much work into it. I had a great team of guys that I met, and the amount of work we put into it for what it was, and now how I know you can make things, we spent like months making this show reel and stuff. I'll send it to you, you'll laugh. And
please.
And I remember sending it out, and I was scared, thinking about rejection. And I started getting emails back from agents being like, "Yeah, come in for a chat. And I went in for a chat, and I remember meeting with people like John Knoll, who at the time was Russell Brand's agent, was Dermot O'Leary's agent. He was a star maker. I had a meeting with him, and he could be a scary guy, and it was a great meeting. I met with people like, independent talent, and he was Steve Jones's agent, still is, I think, and he was one of the biggest hosts of T4 at the time. I thought, wow, and the fact these people are getting me in was kind of affirmation enough that maybe I'm not completely shit. I remember someone saying to me, oh, what have you done before? And in my mind, I was like, I haven't really done anything, and tell him I've done nothing, because they'll be like, oh, he's done nothing. He's going to be amazing to get some experience, not really thinking that these are agents who want to take you on when you've got a bit of experience and done some stuff. So in some ways I shot myself in the foot, but I was kind of like, I haven't really done anything. I've just made this show reel to see what I can do. But that gave me enough confidence. And then I very shortly after that went sort of freelance and left the film company. But then I spent a little while just bopping around, doing whatever I could, grabbing a few TV jobs here and there, like production-wise. I even worked as a temporary estate agent because a mate of mine's dad owned a company and was like, oh, well, we can do some stuff. And I kind of got stuck in that for a while. And all the time trying to get jobs. And I was picking up little things here and there, sending stuff out. And it was actually in that time that the cog started turning that would bring me to meet yourself, Jude. So I remember one of the first jobs I did was a ring girl competition for BAMA. It was Alex Reid versus Tom Watson. And it was in Birmingham. It was a huge card at the time, and I got brought in by the guys from BAMA. I don't know how I got that job. I don't know how I came to contact. It was a
big card.
Big card, of course. Yeah, someone we know was probably the intern at the time, Jude. And I remember getting the call to that. I was like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I'll do it. Went up to Birmingham, hosted this ring girl competition. Literally no idea what I was doing. Literally no idea what I was doing. I was talking. I remember I would bring people in from the audience to play little games. I was really struggling to remember their names. I was like, what's your name? Oh, okay. And here's Johnny. Just little things like that. I had no idea what I was doing. Hosted that. And then off the back of that, at the time, I think Dan was on Channel 5. I remember sort of hassling the guys to do more, just to do backstage stuff, just to do anything, just to be involved. And I came to that show, it was great, but nothing kind of came of that. So I went back, continued doing whatever presenting jobs I could. I was doing travel stuff for The Guardian, which I loved. I was doing bits and bobs. And then did stuff at the Olympics in 2012, just building to get any experience I could. And then I got an agent, and then I saw this Blue Peter competition. And I was like, I think at the time I was doing stuff at SBTV, Jamal Edwards' platform, which it's still big now, but it's really hot then. And I was started doing their sports stuff for them. I just found Jamal's email, sent him a message, actually while I was at the estate agents, been like, hey man, you want to do anything? And he emailed me back straight away. I was like, wow, this is cool. So he got me into hosting sports stuff, which was really cool. And then this Blue Peter thing came up. And I was like, well, I don't think I'm right. I think I probably had a screen test for CBBC at the time, and I wasn't quite right. And I was like, I mean, but it's a big opportunity, and I can't, why wouldn't I do it? Why wouldn't you go for something like that? So you had to do this build. I think you had to do an audition tape, and I did something that was just stupid, taking the piss kind of thing. Sent it in, and I think there was something like 20,000 applicants. And I got the call being like, oh yeah, you got through to the next round. I can't remember the exact stages. I don't know if you had to do another video after that or something, or I had to go for a meeting. But I remember at one point I had to go up to Manchester to do this meeting. I think I had to do an interview and then do a make with someone. But I just remember keep getting through these stages. And I was like, when's this going to end? Because I don't think I'm right. I think I'm a bit rude. Not that you're going to swear on kids' TV, but I don't know if I'm squeaky clean enough. But I kept getting through. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then eventually I got down to the final.
Well, the history of some of the Blue Peter presenters.
Well, yeah, I mean, in reality, compared to them, I am squeaky clean. But then I kept getting through it, and this whole audition process was part of the show. They're making an apprentice-style show called Blue Peter, You Decide. And what was funny was the same time I was doing this, I was actually auditioning to host Big Brother's bit on the side. I think they were relaunching Big Brother on Channel 5. I remember auditioning for that, and there were two very different auditions, because I'm going to Blue Peter being squeaky clean, don't say fuck or bugger, doing these doing all these things. And then at the same time I was going to Big Brother and doing these kind of cheeky interviews and all that kind of stuff. So there were two different routes that was happening. Eventually Rylan got the job for Big Brother's bit on the side, and I got onto the show for Blue Peter, You Decide. And it was weird because I think Eamon Holmes, Mylene Klass and K.L. Spellman were the judges. It was very much an apprentice style thing. And I went away and we did some tasks, and then they started eliminating people. And I got eliminated, and I think there's a couple of other people who were eliminated at the same time as me, and they got critiqued. And it was harsh. It's tough being critiqued, especially when you're on camera. It's tough. It's tough being in an audition or getting feedback going, nah, mate, you're not right. It's tough. Yeah. But the feedback they had for me was like, you're good. You're great. I think we're going to hear more from you. But I think Mylene said this. She goes, but there's a twinkle in your eye. I'm not sure I'm not sure you're quite right for Blue Peter. And I was just like, yeah, no. I mean, I've been thinking this the entire time. I don't think I'm right. One thing I think that helped me was when I left the film company, I went to work in casting. One of my first freelance gigs was as a casting assistant. I remember casting for commercials and some sort of independent feature films. I remember seeing all these actors come in, and the actors I recognised off the TV, like famous actors. I was like, I just assumed this because I know who you are. I just assumed that you would be you'd be sent scripts and like a huge figure, and they'd be like, "We want you to do this. And we're going to pay you loads of money." You'd be like, "Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no." But then I suddenly realised, no, these people have to audition. It's just even these famous people. It's a struggle. Yeah. And then I'd hear the creative decisions around why they weren't getting picked, why these people weren't getting chosen for these roles. Yeah. And often, I remember seeing one guy come in, and he was a great actor, but he didn't get chosen because he didn't look right, or he wasn't quite right for the character, Yeah. And I can't remember his name now, but there's some guy who went on to be a huge Hollywood star, came in for this role and didn't get it because, again, he wasn't quite right. He's gone on to be a huge Hollywood star since. I think doing that helped me. It helped me deal with rejection, because what I do, anyone who works in TV, in front of and probably behind the camera as well, you deal with rejection. You go for a lot of jobs, you get told no a lot of the time. And it made me process why people get rejected. It's not always because you're not good. It's not because you can't do it. It's not because you can't play that character. It's not because you can't technically or physically present that kind of show. It's just not what they're looking for. People have something in their mind and they're looking for this. And you are who you are, and that's that. And I think that's helped me a lot, holding on to those kind of issues, knowing that if someone says you're not right for this or you've not got it, then okay.
I think that's a lot to do with it, and I think that's why I think there's talented kids and stuff like that in universities and coming out of schools that do have those skills to be in production, to be in that world. But kids and teenagers, as we were just saying earlier, I find it very difficult to deal with rejection. It's about getting, but if you give them a reason why this might happen because of, it's just like when you train them to do their CV, don't write this, but write this, because if you write this, there's a high probability that you won't get the job. So yes, as soon as you give them a reason, then they're able to adjust. And I think a lot of the reason why we don't have, probably not only in TV, but a lot of other industries as well, we don't have more people coming through or more kids coming through is because the connection in between them leaving school or leaving university and coming into that industry is a bit of a scary leap. And it's because they don't know about stuff like this. And it's really important that they get to know about stuff like this, because, I've been around, I've seen the same sort of things, and I'm thinking, fuck, Jesus Christ,
I think
kids that I know that I can put in that position that would just be really good at.
I think being taught to deal with rejection is super, super important. That rejection is tough. Look, I've got a long-term partner now, but when I was a kid, I couldn't go up to girls. I was awful at approaching girls for fear of rejection and things like that. But in the working world, taking rejection I think it's often, of course, how you're rejected. If someone just goes, "No, you're shit, bugger off," that's tough. But I think you have to understand sometimes that, if someone rejects you for a role or for an opportunity, you ask for feedback and ask why, and take that constructively. And think about what you can work, and try and use it to spur you on. Try not to use it as a setback. I've spent so much of my career getting rejected. I've spent it's a kind of a cliche, but for every 100 things I'll go for, I'll get 99 rejections. Sometimes 100, You just got to keep going. I think one of the tricky things is trying to sustain yourself, because again, when it's your career you're going for and you're starting out, it's like, how do you keep going? How do you live in London? I remember there's a time when I kept giving myself benchmarks of to try and get to what I would call succeeding. And I go, maybe another year. I remember my parents one time they had to talk me down off a ledge basically and be like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I can keep going. I've been sending shows out. I've been going for all these things. I'm getting nothing. I'm working I haven't got a stable job. At that time, I wasn't really forging a career per se. I was doing odd bits. I was doing bits of production here, but it was hard to get a grasp in enough to build something to move forward with. And it was tough, but my parents, I can't thank them enough. My parents, my brother, my friends, for saying, just keep going. Just give it one more go. Just give it one more go. And I think I was lucky that I continue to work in production now. I love creating stuff, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera. And I think that helped that I've been able to, while I'm pursuing on-camera stuff, I can do stuff behind the camera that keeps me in that world, keeps me feeling fulfilled, but keeps my foot in there. So that was lucky for me. But if you're trying to, I think it's important for people to have side hustles or have something they can put food on the table with while they're going for their goal. And if you want to achieve something, you've almost got to be so bloody minded about it, I think,
Yeah.
And for me, I remember it took me a few years, but it was after the 2012 Olympics. I made some contacts around there and I worked on that as I think it was a research or assistant producer. Then I was hosting some stuff in the basketball. Off the back of that, I then started working with a company called Fullwell 73 I think it was an AP or research at the time. And Fullwell 73 at the time they were a small company. They were making, I think I started working there on the screens for a One Direction tour. They were making the screens you'd see there. So that was cool. And then, they're making some sports documentaries and stuff like that. And very quickly they've turned into one of the best production companies, not only in the UK, but in the US. They make James Corden's Late Late Show and things like Carpool Karaoke, films like the Usain Bolt films. So working with that company was amazing. They really helped pull me through as sort of from behind the camera standpoint, from, an AP through to being a producer. And those guys there, Gabe, Leo, Ben Turner, Ben Winston, they've taught me so much about, the industry behind the camera and advice in terms of on front of the camera. So those guys have always been invaluable. So it was then that I started to get my claws in behind the camera, but I was always pursuing on-camera stuff. I always wanted to do on-camera stuff. Yeah. SBTV was great because they were quite, they had a bit of profile. And eventually I remember getting Red Bull cliff diving. I had to, one of their hosts couldn't do it for a while. So I ended up doing a few episodes of that, and that was amazing because I'd always watch that show on days. And I remember, I got to go to Mexico, I got to go to Spain. It was really just a dream job. So I did that, and that was okay. That gave me, that was coming at a time where I hadn't, I think that was probably 2014, 2015. So five years into my career, I've been hustling, trying to get this thing, and eventually that came. I was like, okay, cool. But then I think they cancelled the show or something, so it didn't really go anywhere. And I was trying to do other stuff.
But then the channel went down, didn't it, Dave?
Dave's still going. We were on Dave.
Oh, it's Bravo, isn't it?
Bravo, yeah. So this then brings us kind of full circle. So I'm still working at Fullwell, doing presenting of what I can, and then I got a phone call. And I remember it was the start of 2015. I got a phone call from a guy called David Green, a guy who I'd hassled probably for a year after that first BAMR experience. Been like, hey, can I do something? Can I be a backstage reporter? Can I do anything? I just want to be involved. Because I kind of caught the mixed martial arts bug at that point. And I remember getting a message from him out of the blue. And I still to this day, I don't know why he contacted me. He's like, look, the guy we've got, he can't make it for whatever reason. Are you around this weekend? At the time, I was producing a show, and I was like, yeah, but I've got to, I can make it, but I've got to travel back like that night because I've got to be on a shoot the next day. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. I'll do anything to get there. So I went up there and hosted a BAMR. It was the first time I'd ever done live TV. First time I'd ever hosted anything like that. I remember the main event was a fight between Tom Dukawa and Krzysztof Klacek, which I can say their names now. But when I was consuming things like the UFC at that point and like the mainstream, shall we say, fights. So when you don't know who these people are, when they're not in your everyday vocabulary, try and say, again, anyone who's listening or watching this, go and Google the name Tom Dukawa and Krzysztof Klacek. They're not spelled how they sound. So I'm like Tom de Quesnoy, Krzysztof Klacek. I butchered their names, but it was, it got me through, and it was enough for David Green to be like, oh, okay, let's roll the dice on this guy. So I started doing BAMR, and that was, I credit BAMR a lot. They gave me opportunities to do that, to do live TV, because live is in the TV world, doing live is a real asset to have. It's a skill to have, because you're not doing auto cue and you haven't got a chance to do it again. It's there. You got to do it. You got to deliver. You've got to guide this broadcast. You got to do these things. And I learned that on the fly. I learned that on the job. I was like, I've always got this sort of thing where if someone says, "Can I do it?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I can do it," but only if I think I've got any sort of chance of maybe hassling it through. And I just kind of hustled it. And so I did BAMR.
Yeah. It's amazing that you're talking about that, actually, because it's one of the things that, especially that for me, that is amazing with Bellator, is the processes. Just totally eliminate shit like that. And I just like sitting down and watching the guys work in production and see what they do. It's for me, it's just been like a revelation. I mean, fuck, I wish, been known that years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, you would have just walked in there and it's been like fucking Goldie, you know what I mean? But it's just the way they have their processes lined up.
Yeah.
I learned like about processes and stuff like that from when I used to be an art director, just back way and when, and it's something that I've always kind of like understood, that you can't achieve stuff or what you want to do to its highest potential unless you build that process, going forward. It's to, and then it's a trial and error thing. And
when you say process, what do you mean?
Like, for instance, it's like you're doing your presenting job, so your process would be, you come in, the researchers would give you every single thing about the fighter that you need,
that would be a gift.
But that's what I mean. But then on top of that, you do your own. So you go and Fight Week, you go and interview the fighter that yourself, and then probably at the end, before you go on, and by that time you've got their name twisted around, you know who their mom is.
In Bellator, are the guys given like info packs of the fight?
I can't give you all that information. Sorry, mate.
Oh my God, that would be a blessing. That would be a blessing. But, I know what you mean. Yeah. So I learned on the job with BAMR, and I credit BAMR so much because it gave me that experience. And off the back of that, I met David Hay, who I can't sing his.
By the way, I did actually have that information for you, but you just never asked me.
No, I think you did. I think you did start sending me some stuff. But look, it was just. it's almost good to kind of jump in at the deep end on some stuff and just try and swim. You know, you're always going to sort of sink a little bit and you're going to take some big gulps of water, but it makes you learn. So it was great. And so I think we started on, I think the first show I did was only stream because there was in between TV deals, but very quickly Bama was on, I think we're on 5 Spike, then we're on Dave, then we're on, I think maybe Channel 5, and then we're on ITV. So it was great. It was great to have that kind of stuff. And I met David Hay, and I can't thank David Hay enough and his team, Nicole and all those guys, for the opportunities they gave me. So I met David and, you know, and we got along, and he was hosting Bama with me, and he was, you know, great, and we got to hang out. And then David was relaunching his boxing career, was coming back. And I don't know why, but David was very open to me being part of that. So I was hosting press conferences for him, and which again started opening up the boxing world for me. And then he was very keen to have me involved in the broadcast of his shows, and he fought for that. David fought for that. You know, the channels, and I see their point. They were like, "Who's this dude? Okay, he's done. No, mate, okay, but can he hold this thing together?"
Oh yeah.
And he fought, and David fought for me. David and Nicole really, really fought for me, and I will forever be thankful for them, because he didn't need to do that. He's preoccupied with a fight. He's preoccupied with doing that stuff. But David was like, I want Andy involved. I want Andy as part of this. And doing those things was incredible. Great exposure for me, great experience for me. I got to stand next to someone like Matt Smith, who is... Watching someone like Matt Smith work as a presenter is a dream come true, because, you know, I'm like trying to, when I'm presenting at that point, I was like, oh God, I've just got to keep talking, got to keep doing this thing. And he was so cool and calm and collected and just chilled. And I learned a lot from just like that one night. I did one fight with Matt. I learned a lot from him, which was really, really good. And I remember one of the fights I did, I was doing some backstage bits. Like I was interviewing Shannon Briggs backstage and things like that. And it was a bit different to what I would normally do. Normally I'm sort of anchoring by the cage. Yeah, come on, champ. One of the best things, I get sent this out once a month because Shannon keeps using this clip of me interviewing him, I think, ringside. And I knew what I wanted to get out of him that night. And I kind of pushed a few buttons with him, and he gave me this spiel, which a very inspirational spiel, which he still puts on his Instagram probably once a month now. And I was getting DMs from people going, "Oh, you're on Shannon's thing," and it's great. But it was that night I got some. So to bring you kind of full circle, that night I got a few different things, and I put it on my show reel, and you update your show reel as a presenter, and you try and show what you can do. I've done travel stuff, I've done anchoring, I've done some backstage stuff. And very shortly after the Hay fight, I was working with Fulwell, and I was asked to produce a sketch for James Corden's Late Late Show. Yeah. And, the guys at Fulwell knew that I was a huge wrestling fan, always had been. And they're like, "Oh, we got this sketch, and it's James Corden's parents going backstage at the O2 while WWE are here and just messing around. Can you produce it?" Alongside and my friend David Suter was directing it. I was producing it, and I was like, "Yeah, for sure, absolute dream job." So I went down there and got to do a sketch, and WWE give you a producer, like their producer, to work with us to help put things together, make things work.
Right.
And there's a girl there called Kasama, and we became friends, and she was cool. The whole of WWE team were cool. And I remember at one point, she gave me the belt to put on my shoulder, and I got to climb up the ring. I was like an absolute fanboy. I don't know why I didn't get kicked out that day, because I was an absolute fanboy. But we made this sketch, and I remember I had Kasama's email address, and I'd never thought about working with WWE. I thought about potentially, you know, I'd always loved the company. I was like, what opportunities would there be for me there? And I thought, maybe I could be a writer. You know, I make stuff, I write stuff, I've done a lot of that things. Maybe one day I could be a writer, that would be quite cool. I'd never ever thought about being, you know, a broadcaster for them. I hadn't done any commentary, hadn't done anything like that. So it wasn't even something I'd thought about, even though I loved the product, I loved the company. And then one day, I think because I got this Shannon Briggs stuff, this backstage stuff on my show reel, it looked a bit WWE-ish. You know, it was kind of hyped up, and it was all that thing. It was like, okay, I've got my show it's got a few layers to it now. So I eventually said to Kasama, "Hey, if somebody wanted to try and be, you know, send a show reel through to you guys, who would it be?" Took a little while. She came back. She gave me an email address. I pinged that through, and then conversation started. And it was, you know, I remember talking to, you know, Tom Phillips and Michael Cole and stuff, and I didn't know if they were just being nice to me because I was part of the James Corden setup, and they were just sort of, you know, giving me lip service. Oh, you know, just be nice to this kid. And we kept talking, and that was in 2016, I think. So again, I've been trying to be a presenter since the start of 2010, and we kept talking, and that was, I think, in the summer. I talked to them. Out of nowhere, back into that year, they started doing this United Kingdom tournament over here. WWE started to branch out into the UK, and Michael Cole called me. He was like, "Hey, you want to be part of this? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Have you ever done any ring announcing before? And I was like, yeah, of course, loads. I'd never done any ring announcing in my life. In my head, as I said earlier, if I think I can do something or get away with it or justify it, I'll just say yes. Yeah. And I was like, well, I've been inside a boxing ring, I've had a microphone in my hand announcing, and I've talked to interview boxers. Yeah, I've done ring announcing. I just said that's how I justified morally saying yes, I had. And it's like, cool, okay, you're hired, here we go, be here on these dates, blah, blah, blah. And that was it.
Amazing. That's amazing.
That was in December. In January, I remember I went to the press launch in December, and I met Michael Cole for the first time. He took me into this little room. William Regal, I think, was there, and he introduced me to Triple H, who anyone who knows wrestling knows that Triple H is just the god of gods. And Triple H comes out, and we have a quick chat, and he's just like, hey, man, just don't fuck it up. Oh, God! Oh, God! No! That's the one thing I'm going to try not to. Fast forward a month, we're in Blackpool. We had a day of kind of rehearsals just to get everyone's feet a little bit wet before we kind of went live, and I was awful. I had to go to ring announce. I just did what I thought ring announcing was, which is shouting. I remember they'd said to me, hey, like, you're not like a wrestler at this point. You're ring announcer. It's not about your personality, it's about you doing this job. So I thought, okay, don't have any personality, just do this thing. And so I was stiff as a broom and just shouting some names. And I could see everyone, like all the producers, looking at each other being like, oh, God, we've got a real turkey here. And then I think Cole just shouted at me from the commentary desk, being like, Andy, relax, man. We hired you for you. Be you. I was like, okay. So I went away that night being like, oh, shit. Tomorrow night we are live around the world. Fuck, this is going to suck. But I came back and I think I just relaxed. I was like, I suddenly realized, don't try and be something. They hired me to be me. And then I basically just shouted down a microphone at me and just was a bit looser and somehow got away with it. And then, and since then I've just been so fortunate to be part of the growth of the brand that would eventually become NXT UK. And, they've been supportive. People like Michael Cole and Tom Phillips and Vic Joseph and Mike Mansouri, a whole plethora of people have been so supportive over my time. And, that's led to me, recently having opportunities to do commentary and to, host a whole bunch of other content for the guys, which is, again, it's a dream come true. It's a dream come true. But I remember I sat in the commentary desk, it was March of this year, 2020. And it was quite a surreal moment because it was 10 years, just about 10 years, because it was January of 2010, I sent out my show reel for the first time. Yeah. And it was like, this is, people talk about taking a decade. And it's, I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. There's so much more I want to achieve. But I think in whatever you do, sometimes you've got to stop and take, and look at where you've come to. And I think if 12-year-old me was looking at, the opportunity I've been given and what I've been able to do, just working with WWE. I remember when I did the first ring announcing thing, I was like, if I never get to work for this company again, I've got to stand ringside with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Yeah. And I can always say I work with WWE. So to still be, 3 years later, to be having opportunities with them and to see this brand grow, like I pinch myself. There's so much more I want to do, but I think you've sometimes got to stop and go, okay, look, you've done something.
That's nice, man. Well, listen, man, that's been amazing. We hit like, Jesus Christ, it's just over an hour.
We can talk, brother. We can talk. We can talk. This is normally the warm up with you and me. I mean, if you go and get some Stellas, and this is going to keep going for days.
No, it's cool, man. Listen, Andy, mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Just hearing your story, actually. It's and good to see that you're well and healthy.
Well, healthy. I mean, I put on about 4 kilos during this time, so I don't know how healthy I am right now, but I'm COVID free. Touch wood.
don't just pretend.
Speaking of COVID, we always do a good vibe minute on the end of the show. So if there's anything that you want to or advice to say to the world during this time, please do so now.
I think it's. Everyone's got different challenges right now. As we spoke about at the top of this podcast, everyone's going through different things. People are in different circumstances. Some people are losing their jobs. People are in all kind of things. And I think if any advice to anyone right now is, I think just to stop and see what is around you right now. I think we touched on it earlier in the show, but try and find little pleasures. Whether that's going out and buying a coffee, which you might normally take for granted, going out for a walk in a park, conversations. I think a lot of the time people communicate by text, and if anything, this time has opened up things like these conversations, to jump online with friends. I've got friends in Australia, which we haven't often talked in the last couple of years because of time differences. I'm picking up with those guys, and we're setting time apart to have conversations and interact, because it's the only choice right now. You can't go out with other people, so you're setting dates. So I think it's try and find the silver lining, try and find the enjoyment in things you would otherwise take for granted. And we're going to get through this, I hope. We're going to get through this. We're going to get back to some kind of normality. When we do, try and hold on to those moments. Try and hold on to the little joys. Try and take pleasure in those simple things that you're finding now. Hold on to that as you move forward. Because, the thing, hopefully now people are finding the things that really matter during this moment. And if you can hold on to those moving forward, then, there's some good to come out of this.
Nice one. Listen, brother, thank you very much, man.
Mate, thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to talk to you guys.
Cheers, bro. I shall see you on the other side.
Yes, brother. Take care.